Good day, everyone. So I'm going to tackle about the new drug development. So first, the stages in new drug development. So drug discovery phase, synthesis and isolation of compounds, new chemical entity or NCE that takes sa 1 to 2 years. Ang preclinical study ga takes sa 2 to 4 years. For the investigation on new drug application, submission and review by FDA, 3 to 6 months siya. Next, so the stages of new drug development. So the investigation of new drug application, so may siya sa clinical trial, so may phase 1, 2, phase 3. So it's about 3 to 10 years. So sa preclinical study, continue plus long-term animal toxicity, product formulation, manufacturing and control, package and label design. So for new drug application, review and grant of marketing permission for almost 0.5 to 2 years. So post-marketing surveillance is the phase 4. So the Brontosil is the first antibacterial drug. Sulfanilamide, active metabolite of Brontosil. So other sulfonamide is carbotamide, first oral hypoglycemic drug, other sulfonylureas. So the other is acetazolamide, the first carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, other carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. So for chlorothiazide, major improvement in diuretic. So may sa sandiazoside, novel hypotensive drug, and then furosemide, first loop diuretic. Next, the drug discovery by serendipity. Happy observation, by chance, new use of all drug or its side effect find new therapeutic application. So this is the drug is penicillin methotrexate in Ferraris sildenafil, now used in impotence, lignocaine as antiarrhythmic. Next, the rational drug design, compound-centered approach. Beta blockers developed by modifying structure of propranolol. Molecular modification or manipulation. Receptor-based approach or target-oriented. It depends on sound knowledge and identification of specific target for the drug action. So target-oriented approach, receptor with intrinsic ion channels, enzyme link receptor. For the ion channel, sodium ion, and then potassium, calcium ion, and chloride. For the transporter is sodium ion, potassium ATPase, hydrone, potassium ATPase, sodium ion, potassium, and dichlorophenyl, and then enzyme. So design of prodrug and active metabolite as a drug. Paracetamol, active metabolite of phenacetin. So ang paracetamol, active siya sa phenacetin. So N-acetylpropanamide, active siya sa prokinamide. Bacampicillin, prodrug sa ampicillin. Levodopa, prodrug sa dopamine. And then for the preclinical studies, synthesis or the identification of lead compound, thousand of. So this is the rat. And then the cat, dog, and monkey. Few out of thousand. So for preclinical study, the screening test, tests on isolated organs, tests on bacterial culture, tests on animal models and human disease. So for the test on animal models is diabetic rats or dog by the diazoxide kind animals for anti-epileptic drug. General observational tests on intact animals. So, preclinical study, meron siya sa pharmacodynamic study, toxicity study. For toxicity, may acute toxicity study, subacute, chronic toxicity study. Special toxicity studies. So, for the special, meron siya sa reproductive, teratogenetic, carcinogenicity, mutagenicity, and local toxicity, and then the pharmacokinetic studies. So, toxicity study, ang acute study is for 1 to 3 days. LD50 organ toxicity. Sa subacute naman, 2 to 12 weeks. Ang chronic naman is 6 to 12 months. Ang special long-term toxicity study, reproduction or including teratogenicity, mutagenicity, and carcinogenicity. Before clinical studies, drug is formulated into suitable dosage form, and then clinical study are done under the guidelines of good clinical practice or GCP laid down by International Conference on Harmonization. Next, the investigational new drug. So, investigational license is obtained after successful completion of preclinical studies from regulatory authorities. So, for regulatory authorities for the India is Drug Control Journal of India. For the USA, ang FDA, Food and Drug Administration. Clinical practice is GCP include protection of human rights as a subject in clinical trials, provide assurance of the safety, efficiency of newly developed compound. For the good clinical practice guideline, for the guideline is how clinical trials should be conducted. Define the rules and responsibilities of clinical trials sponsor, clinical research, investigators, and monitors. Muna ang guidelines sa clinical practice. For the phases of clinical trials, so phase 1, early clinical pharmacology and safety. Phase 2, therapeutic exploration and dose ranging. Phase 3, therapeutic confirmation and comparison. Phase 4 is post-marketing surveillance or studies. So, for each phase, exposure to greater number of human subjects. Collection of increasing amounts of data on safety and efficiency of drug. For the phase 1, the early clinical pharmacology and safety, for the N is 2 to 80 healthy human volunteers or sometimes patients carried out by qualified clinical pharmacologists or trained physicians. Carried out in emergency settings, no blending, open label, approximately duration of 1 year. So, emphasize safety and tolerability. Started with lowest estimated dose, stepwise increase to effective dose. So for the data collection on phase 1 is the pharmacokinetic, systemic, pharmacodynamic, general adverse effect. acceptable dosing level is found naman. For the phase 2 is therapeutic exploration and dose ranging. Is for the phase 2 is inclusion and exclusion. Criteria are fixed. For almost 100 to 500 patients carried out by a trained physician for the duration 2 to 3 years. Ang type, open label or blind, venue is 2 to 4 centuries. Establishment of therapeutic efficiency, dose range for more definitive therapeutic trials identified. For the phase 3, therapeutic information and comparison, aims as a compare of new drug to existing therapy. Safety and tolerability assessed on higher scale, indication and finalized, and the guidance for the therapeutic use formulated. Multicentric randomized placebo-controlled comparative double-blind involves several physicians for almost 500 to 3,000 patients sa phase 3. The registration of new drug application along with the data, safety, efficiency, and clinical trials are submitted to relevant regulatory authority. For the India is the Drug Control General of India. Regulatory authority is convinced give a marketing permission. Average time for approval is 2.5 years. So phase 4, the post-marketing surveillance, practicing physicians are identified and data collected on the structure pro forma regarding efficiency, tolerability, and adverse effect for almost 4,000 to 5,000 patients or more, uncommon, rare, and the long-term adverse drug reaction and unsuspected drug interaction found at additional indication for the effect on patients. Special group, elder and neonates, pregnancy and lactation, liver and renal impairment for the exploration of possibilities is modified release dosage form. Additional route and administration, fixed dose combination, even drugs or formulation are withdrawn from the market if found to be injurious to health. Example of drug withdrawal for antihistamine, terfenadine, anti-mesol. For the second is selective COX. The second inhibitor, rivicosib and colicosib, or the cardiotoxicity. Next is Namisulide bond for all in Western countries and for pediatric group in India. Aspirin liquid formation due to possibilities of producing rare Reye's syndrome in children. So the phase of the human microdosing offers way of developing drugs in faster, most cost-effective and clinical way than ever before. So that's my explanation. So thank you.